I was appointed as the new chef at one of the most well-known restaurants in the town. I was very enthusiastic for my first day, but who knew that the place of my dreams would become a place of nightmares? I was appointed to do the night shift at the restaurant. Dave handed me the keys to the restaurant and said, "You are going to be alone at night in the restaurant, and if something weird happens, do inform me." I laughed, thinking that he was just joking, but his expression remained grave. I raised a suspicion in my mind, but I ignored it as my mere misconception. The first few hours were very peaceful. I stacked the things in the right place. After that, I checked the ovens and plugged them out for safety. While I was busy doing my things, I noticed that the atmosphere of the kitchen started to become dismal and gloomy. I ignored it as my misconception as I was working for a very long time. All of a sudden, I heard a faint clicking sound, and that really terrified me. I tried to look for the reason for that sound, but all in vain. As the night became thicker, the environment of the restaurant became more disturbing. While I was busy counting the cash to summarize all-day earnings, I heard a scream. It shook my body from head to toe. The scream came from the basement of the kitchen. At first, I thought that I should restrain myself from this area of the restaurant, but then I mustered up courage and took a flashlight in my hand and went into the basement. The basement of the kitchen seemed like it had been closed for years. The basement gave a very dreadful and scary look, but I continued somehow. When I entered the basement, I felt a strange energy. It seemed that some forces were trying to resist me from coming to the basement. It felt as if there were some dark histories, and the silent forces had woken up to protect them. I started to examine the area. There were some old books soaked in dried blood. I immediately went away from them. While I was exploring the basement, I saw a thing that took my breath off of my chest. I saw that on the wall there was written, "You made a terrible mistake," and it was written with fresh blood. It seemed that I had annoyed the demons residing there, and now they were about to take my life. I immediately ran from there to save my life. After coming out of the basement, I took a sigh of relief. I decided to call Dave and to tell him about the incident. I went into the office and picked up the phone. While I was dialing the number, the wire of the phone wired around my neck. I felt that someone was choking me with that wire, but no one was there. I knew that the words written in the basement were about to be fulfilled, but at the risk of my life. While I was struggling with my life, Dave entered the restaurant and ran towards me and freed my neck. A great gush of wind came from nowhere and threw Dave towards the wall. Dave was heavily injured. I immediately carried Dave, and we ran out of the restaurant to save our lives. We resigned from our jobs the very next day and advised the owner to seal this death pit. I worked at the nearby store. I was appointed as a cashier there. The pay was decent, and the environment of the store was also peaceful. Working with me was Harry. He was the partner of my loneliness. It had been almost 2 days now, and we were enjoying our time in the store. But we were unaware of the horrors which were residing in this calm place. We used to sum up our work as soon as possible, and then we used to watch a movie. On Monday night, we did exactly the same. We summarized our work, and after that, we sat down to watch a movie. Everything was going very fine. Suddenly, we noticed some strange things happening all around us. It seemed as if we were not alone in that place. While we were watching the movie, the volume of the TV became so loud that our eardrums were about to burst. The intensity of the sound increased considerably. My ears started to bleed. Harry ran and plugged out the wire of the TV. We tried to find the reason for this strange happening, but all in vain. We ignored the incident as a technical default on the TV and continued our work. After the clock hit 3 a.m., the atmosphere became irresistibly disturbing. Suddenly, the temperature of the store began to fall. It fell to such a great extent that it was out of control. It seemed that it would freeze us to death. It became so low that we started to shiver. Harry became faint and fell on the floor. I immediately ran and opened the doors of the store and tried to help Harry. After some time, Harry came back to his consciousness. Harry said that something was wrong with this place. We should immediately leave, otherwise things will become uglier. But I calmed him by saying that don't worry, everything will be all right. But inside me, I knew that something was terribly wrong with this place. It seemed that the place was haunted. It was not more than 1 hour after the previous incident. An old man with a very frightening look entered the store. He started to wander in the store, showing the intention of buying something, but it seemed that he was examining the place. After some time, he came to me and asked, "Are you alone here?" I said, "No, we are 2 people here." After some time, Harry came and asked him what he wanted. He started to act weirdly, and after a minute or 2, he took out a gun. He pointed the gun at me and said, "Give me all the money." I was out of my senses now, but I didn't do anything wrong that could have risked our lives. I immediately opened the box and gave all the cash to him. While he was about to leave, Harry ran and tried to grab him. The man fired, and it pierced Harry's arm. The old man disappeared and soon was out of sight. I immediately called an ambulance to save Harry's life. Harry was taken to the hospital, and after a few hours, he was out of danger. After coming to his senses, he apologized to me for his absurd behavior. But I was happy that he was all right now. We left our jobs, as that place was not less than a nightmare. But the incidents that we experienced there truly disturbed our mental health, and it took a long time for us to become normal in our lives. Finding a job in this era of inflation is a very difficult task. After striving for almost 10 days and giving my CV at almost every hospital in the city, I got the job. I was very happy as I was appointed as a nurse in the most well-known hospital in the city. I was very enthusiastic as I was geared up to seek knowledge from such a good place. My job was appointed in the mortuary, and the job was in the night. I was very reluctant at first, and had heard a lot of scary stories about the place. I ignored the thoughts as mere misconceptions. I joined on Monday. The first day at the mortuary was very peaceful. Although I had a lot of disturbing thoughts running in my mind, everything seemed too simple and easy. But that was just my thinking, and who knew that the dead bodies lying there were holding immense horrors inside them. It was about 3 a.m. while I was doing my duty at the hospital. I was in the mortuary and was supervising a recent dead body, which was being shifted to the mortuary. The place was already very dismal and gloomy, and with the dead bodies in it, not less than a graveyard. After completing the paperwork, I was about to leave the mortuary, but all of a sudden I felt that something was pulling me back. My body started to shiver. I had no guts to look back. It felt that the dead had become alive and was pulling me back. I mustered up courage and looked back, but it was my bag, which got struck in the door handle. I laughed at my silliness and calmed myself, and got myself busy at work to dismiss any weird thoughts coming into my mind. After getting my snack, I went back to the mortuary to complete my paperwork. While I was busy with my work, I heard a sound from the mortuary boxes in which there were dead bodies. It seemed that one of the dead bodies had become alive. Gradually, the sound was getting louder. I was about to run from the place, but I stayed and tried to examine the cause. As I approached the mortuary boxes, a faint voice of a man became audible. With shivering hands, I opened one of the mortuary boxes, and what I saw took my breath out of my lungs. I saw the dead body was moving. I ran from there to save my life, but I asked myself, what if that person was not dead and actually needed help? I immediately went back and called the doctor present on duty. He examined the body and said that the person was dead, and now there were no noise and noises coming from the mortuary. The doctor said that, "I can understand it's hard to be here in a mortuary, and you must be experiencing these things as it's your first time. The doctor advised me to have some days off and have a rest at home. My mental health was affected badly by this, and I decided to quit the job.